Hello. Hi. Welcome to Nourish Your Nervous System. We have a lot of ground to cover today, and I'm really, really excited. First, we need to kind of like introduce the couple of people here. You guys know me because you and I've met before, but you probably don't know Emily. And so I'm going to give you a little update on me and where I'm coming from, and then I'm going to introduce a little bit more about Emily and why she's here, why this special guest is here. So, as you guys know, maybe you don't, I am a yoga therapist and an integrative somatic trauma therapist. And recently I went through a really immersive experience into plant medicine, not necessarily the psychedelic plant medicine, but the medicine of plants and the world, right, that we live in and the elements that we have. And I did that through an Ayurvedic perspective, which is a beautiful ancient tradition that comes really from India, and also Chinese medicine has influenced it. And it's this beautiful way of understanding how we can nourish ourselves so that we can, like everything that I really encourage us to do in our life, manage the stresses, the big ones and the little ones of our life, and move through it in a way that makes us feel more radiant, more supported, safer, and more capable of doing all of the big things that I know each one of you, and I know that you want big and beautiful things in your life, whether that be to create a community where you're able to share your medicine with them, or whether that be just to create a beautiful, stable, and loving relationship, or just to nourish your family. Like, I know each one of you has big dreams in your heart, and to do that, you need to be pouring from a full cup. So I'm coming to you today as a bit of everything, but I really am wanting to share my new communion with the earth through all of the amazing things that the earth gives us. Hi, Jerry. Nice to see you. Emily and I met back when I was teaching yoga, and I was figuring out how to like teach yoga online and make money from it. And Emily has been a really, really wonderful guide and friend in this time. The one thing that's always stood out to me from Emily is that, and she'll tell you a little bit more about this maybe, but she has this very analytical way of looking at the mind and the body and the soul map. She used to work in maps and topography, I think. Is that the word? Yeah. But most of all, she has such an abundance of knowledge of how cells work and how different things that we put in our body affects our cell and our limbic system, which is essentially like the nervous system, right? An abundance of knowledge. So much. It astounds me. So I wanted to bring her on here today to share a practice that I have been embodying, learning about, sharing more of, but also have Emily to fill in some of the science that I am not as articulate in sharing. So I want you to think of today as the bridge between the sacred and the scientific and your life and your wellness. So Emily, welcome. Hi, how are you?
Hi, thank you. I am fine and just honored and excited to be here. I said in the beginning of this year, I was, calling in intentions and not so much New Year's resolutions, but what do I intend to create this year? And collaboration was one of my intentions. And so this feels like right in line of being able to connect and join up and share in a collaborative way, like kind of pooling our resources and pulling our knowledge together to help elevate and lift up one another.
Yeah.
So as Sheridan mentioned, my name is Emily Polonis. I'm in Savannah, Georgia. And I, for 13 years, was a map making geographer for engineers and the US Army. So I spent a lot of time in front of the computer in an engineering environment, which was very much in the head, analytical, technical, which kept me very cut off from my body. And I found myself getting sick a lot and just leaning into practices to relieve stress that weren't really sustainable or good for me. And so through really being sick and tired of being sick and tired, I found my way to yoga, acupuncture, more natural ways to take care of my mind, my body, my soul. And then I started to get fascinated with the new map, and that's the mind body connection. So I like to think of myself as like a trail guide for the inner space. I've been a massage therapist for 17 years as well. So I've put my hands on a lot of people. I've felt how energies and emotions manifest physically in the body. And I found that, humans all map emotions and energy very similarly, regardless of the flavor of the experience. So I didn't realize it over the years, but I've been collecting this encyclopedia of energy through my hands. And through all that, found my way to essential oils and working with aromatherapy to shift mind, mood, emotion, physical, cellular health. And that's what we're going to be talking a lot about today. So yeah, I'm hoping we can bridge some connections and gaps between that sacred and the scientific, like Sheridan mentioned. And my goal is to always, I just want to help self-healers and empathic people bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be, and really apply into that gap with love, inner awareness, and authenticity. And we can really lean into the power of the plants as allies to help bridge that gap. They kind of act like portals to really bring energies that are latent within us online and help open us up and step into our fullness.
Beautiful. Yeah. So that's us. Now, we're not going to be able to do a full introduction of each one of you, and it's also not why you're here. You're here to kind of relax back and receive, but I do really want to know what is alive inside of you today. So what are you feeling? What's going on? Do you have peace and anxiety, joy, happiness, curiosity? Can you put in the chat can you put in the chat box what you're coming to this class with today? As you guys know, we want to make sure that it's meeting you where you are, especially because you're the people who join live, so you get extra extra love. And you watching the replay, we love you too, and we're keeping you in mind. Yeah, what's going on, guys? Hi. It's so lovely to see everyone's faces too. Yeah, I'm excited too, Joe. Okay, cool. And in that, definitely right, as you're doing your little introduction, what you're most excited about, what you're most curious about today. Maybe you don't know. Curiosity and tiredness, curiosity and excitement. Wonderful. We have a lot of stuff that we get to satiate your curiosity with and your excitement with, which I'm excited about.
I just shared in a yoga class yesterday that it's impossible to be unhappy and curious at the same time.
It is. It's completely impossible. Yeah. Deep in contemplation of your gene keys. So I'm stepped in mystery right now, feeling big feelings, and my nervous system is going as I stand on the edge of mystery. Okay. Interesting. Let's bring some curiosity to that.
I can relate to that. I did a deep dive into the gene keys the whole last year, and I'm fascinated with that whole text. And I continue. I just did the prosperity pathway course last weekend, and I just love it so much.
I feel like you guys would get along with that. The gene keys, if anyone is curious about, some of you don't really know about it, they're the 64 keys of life, and they understand the different DNA. Definitely look at it. Do a Google of that, but later. It's very interesting. You can very easily fall down a rabbit hole. I'm on a weird edge between stress out and deep calm. I've had a perceived fail yesterday that rattled you, and I've been presencing my purpose to shift that state. Yeah, well, you're in a good place, John. I'm happy that you're here. We can maybe lean in a little more to that calm. Oh, beautiful. Okay, guys, thank you for sharing. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to begin. So we are going to cover the science. I'm going to give you lots of things to put your brain in. But before we do that, this contemplation for me has not been done through science and information. This contemplation for me is done through a connection. And so I'm going to take us through just a very quick meditation of understanding how we can feel nourishment from the plants. Some of you may have seen I wrote a little bit of a post about how the plants and the earth have been my biggest way of feeling held and supported through some of the most difficult parts of my life. And one of my biggest barriers was that, I live in a big city and it's really hard to put my feet in the earth sometimes and feel that when I'm also doing life and I'm busy or I'm on a plane. And so I'm going to be sharing a meditation that I like to do, a practice. We're going to be sharing some lifestyle tips, and we're going to start talking about essential oils and oils in general. Because oil, I want you to think of it like this. The Sanskrit word for oil is sneha. The Sanskrit word for love is sneha. Oil is the essence of each plant, which is love. So we're going to meditate and we're going to contemplate the essence of your favorite flower today, just to begin. So I want you to think of a flower. It could be a rose, or it could be something more like a lavender, or maybe it's more like a tree. I'm just going to go with flowers because I think that's more accessible. I want you to think of a flower. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't even need to know the name. It could be the one that you saw outside of your window yesterday. Think of a flower. And then if you're willing and you're ready with me, I want you to kind of close your eyes and feel yourself here and give yourself a little hug. And I want you to imagine just kind of having this flower almost cradling you. So you're kind of sitting in the middle of this flower. You've kind of dropped down into the middle or middle of those little crevices that flowers have. Maybe it's a big sunflower and you're just laying on that big launching pad. See if you can kind of lean back a little bit, as if you were being really held by its petals, by its seeds, by its softness. And taking a few really big deep breaths. See if you can kind of feel into this particular flower. What is its essence like? Is it bright and colorful and invigorating? Does it have a certain warmth to it? Does it fill your body with energy and brightness? If you were to think about possibly, this might make sense for some, it may not for others, but consuming it in some way, whether that be through its aroma or actually eating it. Inside, does it feel like it would be heating? Does it feel cool? Does it make you feel soft and relaxed and calm? Does it make you feel sleepy? Does it make you feel secure? Does it make you feel motivated? What is it? And if you're kind of being held by this plant that is a combination of Mother Earth and nutrients that lay in the soils and water and consistent care, and that really like feminine motherly love, as well as the sun and the strength and the brightness that comes from that really divine masculine love. And these two things have combined perfectly to create this cradle and this support for you. And so you're just feeling yourself really leaning back, maybe even drop your head back, really find that position, maybe scoot down in your seat a little and take a couple of big exhales like, oh, here I am cradled in something that the earth made for me, just for me. I don't have to share this with anyone else. This is for me, just for me. Big, long exhales. And this next part might make sense, and it also may not, but if it does, perfect. If it doesn't, put it away, find it later. What does this plant want for you today? What does it want to gift you? What does it want you to know? What does it want to remind you of? And if you feel inclined, come back and share that in the chat. Now that was really quick because I want you to know that these practices are not made to be used in a ritual that is an hour and a half long. They are made to be used while you're brushing your teeth. And if none of that made sense, that's totally fine as well. Keep going back and trying. It's a connection. And you get to modify it to your own self, right? You get to make it whatever you want it to be. But if you do feel inclined to share, I would love to read it. And we're going to move on to some of the other nerdy stuff. I'm going to share my screen with you all. I want you to stay in that like relaxed place. You guys don't have to worry about anything. You just have to relax. I chose Rose too, Emily. How beautiful. Yeah. Very pitter pacifying, very pacifying for our the parts of us that want to like keep going all of the time. Okay, let's talk. So in essence, oh, Alissimus, I don't know that flower, how beautiful. Sunflower, yeah. Sunflower is really beautiful. I know Joe really likes sunflowers. So you're made to function as a whole, right? Your body and your mind and your spirit. So when we're talking about nourishing, we can't nourish one without nourishing the other and still feel nourished. We need to be nourished in all of these. A lot of the time we focus just on nourishing the body, for example, and we don't give enough attention to what the spirit or the mind needs, and we still feel depleted and unfulfilled and stuck and stagnant and in crappy moods. However, if we nourish the mind and give it all of this beautiful information and activity and inspiration, but we're neglecting our body, then we're going to feel depleted, right? So in order for us to have holistic wellness, we need to treat your entire organism as a whole. Oh, Jasmine, that's beautiful. Oh, beautiful. Okay. So basically, when we're treating the whole organism as a whole, what we're actually doing is we're treating every individual cell. Because you, as an individual, you're actually made to be in a space of homeostasis, meaning that you're not hurt. Your body is self-healing. So if I scratch myself and I give my body the correct conditions and support to heal itself, that scratch will heal. Now, if I scratch myself and I keep picking at it and I scratch myself over it, or I put it up against the sun and I sunburn it, or I hit it, like it's not going to heal because it didn't have the correct environment. So you will always heal when you have the correct environment, or in other words, when you are nourished. So you will be free of stress and be sleeping well and have equanimous emotions. It doesn't mean that you don't have different emotions. Everyone's going to have different emotions. It's part of the human experience, but you're able to experience them with ease when you're nourished and when your cells are given the correct environment that they need to thrive. Now, I know you guys know this, but I'm going to say it anyway. The correct environment is not eating crap and watching Netflix until 2 a.m., even though you really, really want to. Guilty sometimes. Yeah, Plantain showed me how the people around me are a balm, cover my wound, and looking away the sink. Interesting. Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. So what has that got to do with your emotions? And what has that got to do with your mind? How do they influence your nourishment, your sleep, your stress, your wellness? I'm going to let Emily explain this because she does a really good job.
Thanks, Sheridan. Well, I used to not really consider myself an emotional being and spiritual being first and foremost. I just thought I was a physical body and that housed my spirit. And yeah, I had these things called emotions, but mostly they were meant to be just like stuffed away and you get on with things and so on. But as I got into the mind body connection, I started to realize that, you know, the feelings that we bury alive never die. And in order to really live in a free, healthy, nourished way, we must process our emotions as they arise. Like Sheridan said, it's not that we don't experience a range of emotions. It's absolutely human to have what we would deem negative emotions and positive emotions and everything in between. There was a time probably about maybe 8 years ago that I started putting a question on my massage intake form that said, what emotion do you hang out in usually? And I started to realize that most people aren't really connecting into their emotions day to day. Like I would get, you know, happy, sad, stressed are the main answers I would get. And I just was like, oh, interesting. And some people would be like, oh, I never really thought about that. And then some people, you know, that were more connected to feeling and processing emotions could get more granular and nuanced with their emotions. All that to say, we are emotional beings, and emotions are chemical molecules that are released in our brain and in our body that make us feel certain things. And so they trigger emotion or information carrying molecules that bind to and react with our cell receptors. Can you go on to the next slide? Let me see what we have there. So that brings us into looking at ourselves from a holistic perspective. Like it's not just emotions in our mental health. We have really 3 brains, and each one of these brains are complex neural processing systems that communicate within one another, but then communicate with each other too. So we have the mind, which is like our director, our subconscious mind. 90% of our behavior is actually driven by our subconscious mind. And so that means like the things that we do every single day on autopilot, like that we're consciously aware of, that's like 5% of our things. But then those maybe emotions that we buried, I'll give you an example for me. My father passed away when I was 20 years old from brain cancer. I thought, you know, I processed a good bit of grief back then, but I really didn't. I just went off into college and was just partying and numbing and staying distracted from really feeling my emotions. And it wasn't until years later that when I started getting sick a lot and going through acupuncture treatments to clear and balance my body, I started to release this immense amount of grief, and I realized that I had not really fully processed that experience in my life. And so there were things that I was doing, like sabotaging patterns that I was noticing in my life, that I can now look back and understand that was like the 90%, that subconscious behavior there was energies, patterns in my body that were stored from that grief that was repressed, that were directing my behavior, and I was very unconscious of it. So I had to bring it up to make it conscious, clear it out. That's another story. But then we have the heart, which is, I would say, like the well of our wisdom. Like this is where all of our answers really reside. We call the heart the discerner. And the reason why I say it's the well of deep wisdom, you hear people say, follow your heart, and that sounds nice and poetic. But really, from a scientific standpoint, the way we're wired, we have more neuro connections, neuro pathways that connect from our heart to our brain. So what that means is when we are, like I mentioned, when I was working for the engineers, I was always in a mental space, like top down, like trying to figure everything out with my head and just stuffing down the emotions. Like I'd be stuffing away the grief, it's just like figure it out, stay in the logical, analytical mind. Well, that's going like reversing, like going against our natural wiring, like going against nature. So what we're going to have happen when we are trying to control everything with the mind and make the mind the director, we're going to be off kilter, because really that wiring is trying to get more information from the heart to the brain. Then we have the gut, which has a direct connection to the brain. 90% of our serotonin and our other feel-good neurotransmitters are produced in the gut. Most of our immune system is housed in the gut. So if we have all of these disconnected systems that aren't talking to each other, but are designed to talk to each other, that's where we're going to come up against like physical ailments, tensions, like living what I would call like out of integrity or out of alignment. And then, the feelings that come from the emotional molecules are really chemicals that can help us or hurt us. And once we can start to see ourselves as chemistry, things really change. Now, when I see those patterns of energy or triggers that come up, I call them chemistry spikes in the body. It's just patterns of energy that are needing to be released. They need to be brought up to the surface, acknowledged, seen, and moved. If you look at the root word of emotion, it's emover, means to move through. So emotion is energy in motion. And if we are moving these patterns of energy out, in order to do that in a really, in a way that feels, sometimes it can feel kind of uncomfortable to be bringing these old patterns up, but the more we can stay in the center, give the gut nourishment that it needs, and then the mind, they'll all be talking to each other with more ease.
That's really wonderful. Yeah. Emover, I didn't know that. And this is why we focus so much on the gut when we're in Ayurveda. Some of you guys know that, but that's a different thing. Basically, I also think it's interesting to know that your emotions will bind to your cell. So when we talk about so it means that it's literally stored in your body. When we talk about how things are stored in your body, it's not just something fancy that we want to say. It's literally attached to your cellular structure. So to change the things, to change like the embodied sense that you have, we need to address that cellular structure. And there are so many ways to do that. We'll get through a couple of them. So basically what Emily's saying.
Let me say one more thing about that. And that's where we'll tie in talking about essential oils as primary tools for shift at the cellular receptor sites, like a lock and a key, much like our molecules of emotion work. They're very, very similar, and that's why the oils are effective, and we'll get into that as well.
Cool. Yeah. So this is that. Oh, we did this.
Oh yeah, I'll really like walk you through this little experience here. I think this is a good. If you go back to the beginning.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
I can't go back to the beginning. How do I do this?
Just go back. Can you just go back a couple slides to that one?
Okay.
Yeah. So the three brains are in. Like, go back one more. So we have this life experience, this lady, I'm sure maybe you can relate to being bombarded with multiple stimulus at once. You know, I think I've heard this several times. We are bombarded with more stimulus today than like our great grandparents were like in an entire maybe lifetime. And like
Yeah.
that's what we have in like one day. And somebody asked me the other day, a colleague of mine, I was talking about these patterns of focus I was having, and she said, "Do you have ADHD?" And I said, "Well, gosh, doesn't everybody these days?" Because I'm just thinking about how when we're scrolling on social media, how our brain has to make these little micro decisions every second on whether we're going to stay or we're going to comment or we're going to like or we're, you know, so we're really doing ourselves, our attention a disservice by like not taking time out to rest and reset our nervous system with that bombardment. So here we have this lady holding the crying baby on the phone, dogs barking. There's probably other things going on here. And all of these three processing centers are taking this in. So now we can go on to the next one. And so processing, you know, her brain is like trying to figure this out. That's how the majority of people are going through the world, trying to figure things out with their head. And then we're trying to stuff that down, and the heart saying like, I feel overwhelmed, instead of the head listening to what does the heart need. You know, we're trying to impress like down, we're just striving and driving through it. And then the gut's going, oh, I feel stuck because you guys are kind of in a fight up there. And so that processing gets us head tension, conflicted feelings, confusion, unsettled gut. If you think about intuition, and I always say that's like the heart knows what you need, what feels nourishing, but we just have to quiet down to listen. And then we have this intuition, which we all have, that are like multiple channels of truth running through our bones. We've got to quiet down to be able to be in touch with that. But when you do get still and you do get quiet and you can listen more deeply to yourself, um, intuition feels clear. It doesn't feel confused. If you feel confused, it's likely not your intuition speaking. But intuition is like a flash of clarity. It might not.
Everyone needs to take that. Like, there are certain people here, I love you guys, but you need to highlight that. If you feel confused, it's not your intuition. Okay,
Yeah,
guys?
it's intuition is clear, and it's not about seeing what's going to happen in the future. It's about a present moment knowing, like, this is the next step. And it might not make any sense. And like yesterday, I was busy doing my work day, and I just had this, like, I couldn't focus. And I, for some reason, was like, go get a pedicure. It's like, I didn't have a pedicure appointment. I wasn't planning on getting a pedicure, but something just told me to go get a pedicure. And I love this place that doesn't use any chemicals, and they're usually booked. And there was an appointment at 10:30. I didn't know the lady, but it was 10 o'clock. I said, I just need to do this. I'll take my phone and take some notes on my phone about the things I'm working on. So I'll feel like I'm working while I'm getting a pedicure. Anyway, I went and got this pedicure, and this woman and I connected and had the most beautiful conversation. And it was like we were supposed to meet. Like, I invited her to this class actually, but she couldn't come today. But it was just one of those meetings where I felt like you were in the right place at the right time, and this is why I was meant to be there. So it didn't make sense, but I just had this flash of knowing, like, go get the pedicure. That was my intuition example. But then, yeah, like when you have the confusion, conflicted feelings, that's just like resistance. You know, if you're going through a road and you have a speed bump, that's just a sign to get you to slow down. You know, it's not telling you to stop completely, but it's just stop and look around to make sure, you know, get the lay of the land. That's all like your conflict and resistance is. It's just like a little speed bump to take a moment to slow down and take a breath, connect to your body, do some of these really simple practices, and then listen for the next step. It'll come in clear when you take that time to slow down. And then your unsettled gut will start to settle. Your systems will start to get it back into balance.
Yeah.
And
Do you
so
want to go over beliefs?
do I want to go over the beliefs?
Yeah.
So when we have that physical tension, we're going to get caught in thought patterns that reinforce that we're doing something wrong, that we're not good enough. And then beliefs are just thoughts that we continue to think. And so if we are paying attention to this conflicted energy in our bodies, we're going to be thinking something, we're doing something wrong. That's going to be planted as a seed of a belief that I just must not be good at this life thing. I'm not good enough, whatever it is, some flavor of that. And then, so that's the whole formula right there, or
Yeah,
the whole
the way I
equation.
think about it is like a belief will create an emotion inside of you. Because if you believe something to be true, for example, if I truly believe that there was a lion out front in front of this window, I would be having a freak out at the moment, right? If I truly believe that something bad was going to happen today, I would be having a freak out at the moment. So we can influence our emotions on a physiological level. And we can also influence our emotions by looking at our beliefs and saying, it's not 100% true all of the time.
Yeah, and I could give you another example of that. Like, say you are afraid of dogs, and you are every day on a walk, you see the same dog, and you are frightened of this dog. You think it's a killer dog, so every day you're like, got to stay away from the dog. This dog's a killer dog, and like you keep on reinforcing that belief. Every time we think a thought, there's it's called Hebb's law. Neurons that fire together wire together. So we think a thought, neurons in our brain fire together, stick together, they reinforce that belief, that pattern. So every day we're going by and seeing that dog, we're believing it's a killer dog, we're afraid of the dog, fear chemicals going through our body, stress chemicals going through our body. But then one day we walk and the dog starts to come a little closer, or maybe we see somebody else petting the dog and we go, oh, wait a minute, maybe that dog isn't such a killer dog. And then like the dog gets closer and then the dog licks you and like is really sweet.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you're like, oh, wait a minute. So your whole belief was instigating this flood of chemicals through your body, and the belief wasn't even true. Like the dog was actually nice, but you just believed that it wasn't because of the story you were telling yourself about it.
Yeah. And I have a question for you guys, and it's a little one to contemplate. So I'm going to write it down and I'm going to share it with you later on. Okay. So all of this happens because we have an autonomic nervous system. Your autonomic nervous system, you can kind of see here. So parasympathetic is this rest and digest, and fight or flight is this fight or flight. It's connected to all of these things, and you've probably seen words before like the vagus nerve and all of that. We're not going to go super in depth this today, but you're welcome to take a screenshot, and you can even ask me for this slide later on and I'll share it. But essentially the pathway in your body that allows for all of this to happen is your autonomic nervous system. And your autonomic nervous system goes through, in essence, basically these different states. And you can see, if you have a look at this, once again, you can take a screenshot or you can ask me for the slide later on. Each nervous system state is actually connected to different emotions. Now, here's the thing. You are only going to be able to sleep and have a nourished sleep if you are in ventral vagal, which I call the green zone. Because if you are in fight or flight, or in worry, concern, panic, rage, or up here in freeze, dissociation, shame, hopelessness, suicidal, your body is going to it's not going to sleep because it thinks that it's in a danger zone. It thinks it's in a stress zone. So it's just simply not going to go to sleep. So if you want to have sleep where you go to sleep easily, you stay asleep, and you wake up refreshed, the most important thing that you can do a couple of hours, or at least an hour before you get to bed, is do everything that you can do to get yourself in this ventral vagal state. So when they talk about taking distractions away and turning your phone off, we're not just saying it because it's really nice. We're saying it because that notification on your phone and you comparing to yourself to that person on Instagram, or you getting angry at that person on Facebook, is going to put you in an alterated state. So I want to talk a little bit about emotions further because I think this is really, really beautiful. It's a good way to help us understand emotions and how our body might respond to them. You can see over here kind of like what might be happening. If you don't have my PDF on the nervous system, we also go deeper in there. It's free. You can message me for the link. I think most of you might have it. But we need to talk deeper about our emotions, right? Because it's really beautiful for me to say to you, just come over here into the green zone. Just, get really curious. Let's get really happy. Let's have some joy. Oh my God, let's do that. But if you're spending most of your time over here in hatred and rage, if I tell you like, oh my God, get really into joy, like look how far you have to go. It's really far. So let's think for a moment. If I were asking you to begin running, I wouldn't ask you to run 100 kilometers today. I would say, hey, why don't you go out running for 5 minutes? And that's what we're going to practice doing. You might notice, let's say that you're going to bed and you've had a big day. You do a little check-in. You say, what emotion is inside of me? And this is a tool, so like write this down. It's the emotional check-in. You're going to say, what emotion is inside of me? Jealousy, maybe. I'm really jealous because something happened today and I got really jealous. In order for you to get into that more regulated space, I'm not asking you to jump into optimism and hopefulness. It's not realistic. It doesn't work. It just creates more conflict inside. What I actually want you to do is to connect with the jealousy inside, see it, nourish it, and then find your way maybe into doubt or maybe into disappointment. Like maybe we can get even, if we could even get to boredom, that would be amazing. We're never expecting you to jump all the way over here. We're just saying, okay, let's meet the emotion that's here. Let's just go a little bit further up the scale so that we're a little bit lighter. Because nervous system regulation isn't about getting regulated. It's not about reaching that space. It's about connecting with what is inside of you. Because when you do that, then the nervous system softens and you end up more regulated. But every single time that you go into your practice saying, I've just got to get regulated, it's just not going to happen. It just doesn't. Sorry. It's just how the world works. It's just how your body works. We just want to meet where we are. Hi, hello, I see you. And move into the next one. And then be okay being there. Because everything in life will change, including your emotions. They will end and they will change.
In fact, they want to move and need to move. And the more you try to force it or change it, the more they're going to persist.
Stay as they are. Yeah, exactly as they are. Get worse and more intense. Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to do that. We're going to share a little bit about how to do that as well. But before we do that, where are you today? So if you could put in the chat question 1, 2, and 3 on a scale of 1 to 10, 0, not at all, 10, this is a big problem. Or if you're watching the replay, just write this down. Maybe send it to me. How often are you aware of yourself being stressed? How concerned are you about the quality of sleep? And how frequently do your emotions make it difficult to manage life appropriately and tap into an embodied sense of safety? If we're really here, I think all of us, well, I would love to be here for an embodied sense of safety, because that makes stress a little easier and it makes sleep a lot easier. I'm going to do me. I'm going to share. So I would say, how often am I aware of being stressed? Maybe like a 2. Concerned I am about not at all, like a 1. And how frequently do emotions make it difficult to manage life? That might be like a 4 or something for me. I'm still a very emotional being.
Yeah, I think that awareness of having emotions and be like planning in time to contemplate and relax and just kind of sort through the emotional material is so essential to deepening your emotional intelligence. I mean, that awareness, if you're aware of your patterns and your emotional responses, you can manage yourself with more ease. If you know you need to take a time out, you can take some deep breaths and say, I need to excuse myself, instead of reacting or like flying off the handle in the moment. So with that deeper awareness comes the clarity to know, oh, this is just a pattern. You're not the pattern.
Yeah.
You know, that's a huge distinction. And patterns just will shift and change and can be released. And to your point, Sheridan, I think it's really important what you said about seeing the pattern, allowing it to be there. If you start to think of these patterns of energy and emotions in your body like people that just want to be seen, heard, loved, understood, then you'll notice by treating them that way, hey, I see you, I accept you, you're allowed to be here in my body, you'll feel them soften, let the pattern will soften. It felt like the most ridiculous exercise to me. That I've been practicing this a lot with myself and my clients, and it feels really silly to be talking to patterns of energy in your body, like anger, you're allowed to be here, anger, you're allowed to be here in my body. It sounds silly, but it's really effective.
It really is. It really, really is. Yeah. So I'm seeing you guys direct messaging me. Thank you for sharing. We have a couple of people kind of hovering around the 5. I'd say in general, 3, 6, 3, 2, 4, 6. Keep sending them in. You can definitely
Another
direct message me.
thing that you mentioned too, that about the scale that I wanted to hone in on is just the power of getting present with it and observing where you are and not trying to shift it. That observation will take you to a higher frequency, and that's all that guidance scale is like different vibrational frequencies within our body.
Yeah.
You observe where you are, that instantly takes your frequency up a notch.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. 435, 433. Perfect, guys. Awesome. So let me just have a look so that I know where we're going next. I know we are running close to being done. Okay. So I'm going to share this with you guys. Oops. Have a look at these and just see kind of the side effects of missing sleep. There are some that I was a little bit surprised about. You can definitely take a screenshot as well. 323, perfect. Yeah. Impaired immune system, so getting sick. Once again, you can message me about this. Impaired moral judgment. Aches and pains.
When I don't have sleep, my thought, I'm just not mentally clear, and I am a little more agitated more easily and like just cranky.
Yeah.
You know, I have less of a tolerance for everything.
Yeah. So it's something to keep in mind. If you notice any of these side effects, usually the best place to start for your nervous system needs sleep, right? So it's always good to just say, okay, what's my sleep situation? I've written some lifestyle recommendations here that you can take a picture of. You can see that they actually build on each other. We're going to go through a couple of them, others that I also written down that I forgot to put on this slide, which is number 1, practice the meditation that we just did at the beginning of the class. Practice finding an embodied sense of safety. Number 2, release distraction. So you can see that we asked for like TV and stimuli out of the bed, but it also means putting your phone down early, turning the lights down at the end of the day. Release distractions, not trying to do everything in the daytime. One of my friends puts her phone on grayscale. You can just search your phone grayscale, and putting your phone on grayscale actually is less stimuli for the brain. So it's a good way that you can not have such an output of energy. But think of yourself, how can I release the amount of distractions and stimuli that I have? Maybe it means not listening to a podcast or music all of the time and having a little bit more silence. Look into your beliefs. So this is the question that I'm going to ask you right now. I'm going to put it in the chat. maybe immediately something comes up. Maybe it's something comes up later on. What are you currently believing that might not be true? What are you currently believing that might not be true? Curious. Not going to give us too much time to sit with that because we have a lot of ground to cover still, and we are running out of time. But take that one with you. What are you currently believing that might not be true? Such as, I can't watch, I don't know, maybe I can't take the TV out of the bedroom. It's such a big one that I see so much. So I don't know if it's you, but I know for a lot of people it is. I don't have enough time with myself. Yeah. Maybe you do have enough time for yourself. Maybe you can make time for yourself. Yes. Good one.
Can I share something about the time and a perspective? Because I think one of the biggest problem we all have is a problem of perspective. If we just shift our perspective, things will change. And if you look at the number of minutes in the day, there's like 72, and you took the number of minutes in a day and busted it into a pie of 20-minute slices. I think there'd be like 72 slices of pie, something like that, if I'm remembering my math right. And if you took 10 minutes in the morning to sit, calibrate, set intention for the day, feel in. I start every morning with an essential oil and a meditation. And then you do that at night, or if you do it in some time throughout the day, that's 20 minutes. That's one pie slice. You still have 70 pie slices of time. And if you bookend your day like that, the recalibration that happens in between is I have no other word for it other than miraculous. It truly is, because I've been meditating like that for years now, and it's totally shifted. Like my life seems completely different because it was. Yeah. Like just getting up out of bed and my feet hitting the ground and running to work and being stressed, like that's not even on the table anymore for me.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. And that kind of leads into the fourth one, which I wrote down, which was pause. Take a pause every now and again. Just a pause. And the fifth, which is an emotional check-in, not an emotional trying to get rid of it, but emotional honoring of your emotions. Hi, you're here, just like we've spoken about. And I'll put these in a little text as well so that we have them later on if you ask me for them. These are things. Have a look. This is all working with your nervous system. It's not super fancy, guys. It's really simple. Yeah, really, really simple. So we're also going to talk a little bit about emotions and essential oils. And I'm going to hand off to Emily because she does this much better than I do. I started using essential oils. I've used them always kind of for the past 10 years or so since I left home. But when I started understanding Ayurveda and the essence of plants, in that being that the essence is love, and I also live in a city and I find it difficult to get access to the things that I really love and desire, I went even further into essential oils because it is that pure essence in such a simple way. Also understanding the way that these oils activate or calm the nervous system in different ways. So if we come back to the different nervous system states, sometimes a free state needs activation. So it needs citrus oil, it needs peppermint, it needs that invigorating. When we're really anxious or we're really angry, we need essential oils that take us straight to the parasympathetic, which might be more calming, right? More softening, lavender, rose, things like that. That soft, cool energy. However, this is something that you don't need me to give you a chart for. You can feel this and you can understand this in your body. And there are also charts that we can help you with. But I want for Emily to explain the oils and how it works. You can use the oils that I use, that Emily used if you like. You can also use oils that you already have in your home, right? And you don't have to use any of them. You could use a tea as well. It's information for you to take with you and use however you choose. And if you really love what we're sharing, then we can help you get more of them and get really, really good ones in your home. After Emily speaks a little bit, we're actually going to take Q&A. and make sure that you guys all have one action item that you're going to take away and apply with you into the rest of your life. So Emily, all yours.
Thank you. And I know we are right at about the time, but if you do have a few minutes to hang on, please do. And if you have to hop off, I totally understand that. And you can catch the recording too. We'll work on our timeliness.
Yeah.
But,
Thanks, guys.
yeah, this is our first round together. So we've been talking about emotions and how to support healthy processing of emotions. Essential oils have been in my life for the past 8 years. Like I said, I went to massage school 17 years ago. I ignored the aromatherapy piece in massage school. I just wasn't ready for it. I just wasn't open to it. I didn't understand. I was like, yeah, plants smell good. I was just trying to get out of my stress mode from being in the engineering world, and massage and connection to the body and human connection versus the technical connection really was, that was the step I was at then. Fast forward a few years later, I went to Thailand, Bali, studied Thai massage, and came back to my job with the federal government and was like, there's no way I can stay here. Like the contract, I took 3-month leave of absence and I just quit my job. I had no other plan. I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I'd teach yoga, do massage. Rude awakening on the financial side of things for me, but I've been figuring it out. And something just, I had a voice, like an intuitive hit come through me, like that clear, like go get a pedicure voice that said, call your friend Pam and ask her about essential oils. I had a friend from yoga teacher training that was working with essential oils throughout her pregnancy, and she was starting to talk about them and educate about them. And so I just called her and we had a conversation, and I ordered some oils and just started becoming like a mad scientist with oils. I've had my hands in essential oils every single day for the past, since December 2014. And so the emotional piece, the mind, body, spirit connection piece, the oils kind of, it's like the cherry on top. They're like yoga. Aromatherapy seeks to unite the mind, body, and spirit. One single drop of oil. They're so powerful because, like Sheridan said, they're like the essence of the plant, the love of the plant. And like humans, we're the essence of us is love too. So I love that connection to the Sanskrit. But one drop of essential oil is super potent. It's 50 to 70 times more potent than the herbal counterpart. Has 40 million trillion molecules. That's like a 4 with 19 zeros. So these are chemical, really molecularly dense chemical compounds that service every cell in the body in a matter of minutes. So 3 cool things. We'll just hit you with 3 cool things about oils. They're natural, they're safe. They have benefits without, I don't even like to say benefits without side effects. I like to say they have side benefits. If you burn your finger and you apply a lavender oil to your finger for the burn, the skin will pretty much heal overnight, depending on the severity of the burn. But you're also getting the aromatic benefit of inhaling those chemical molecules through your olfactory system that send that message to the limbic system. Through your olfactory system, you have direct connection to the amygdala, which is the gland in our limbic system where all of our experiences are stored. So that's where the aromatic benefits come in when we breathe the oil in. You see that little simplified picture of the cell right there. The reason why essential oils are effective, and if you take anything away from this about essential oils, they're effective because they can pass through our cell membrane. We're made of trillions of cells with like 13 different systems in our bodies that are all made of cells. The cell membrane is an intelligent kind of substance that covers the cell. It's like where our consciousness is said to reside, actually. The oils can penetrate through the cell membrane. And you see that little purple spiky thing, that's meant to represent a threat within the cell. We would call that a virus. And the outside the cell, the green, would be a bacteria. The essential oils have chemical properties that are helpful for eradicating those threats within and around the cell. So the oils are really helpful for fortifying and balancing the health of the cell, which then lends to cellular communication between cells. The potency of the oils, again, 1 drop of peppermint oil is equivalent to 28 drops of peppermint tea, so super potent. And the reason, again, why they're effective, they go cellular, like they cross the cell membrane, balance and fortify the health of the cells, which are building blocks, which means they can address root health problems. And physically, that's going to free up energy. And when we physically free up energy, that is raise our vibration, then we have more energy to go deeper into our emotions for that emotional processing. The oils can then act as like, you think about pulling a root, a plant out from the ground, the roots in the soil, hard, rocky soil, you pull the plant, the root may stick. You might have to pour some water around that soil to get the root out. Think of essential oils as maybe they're not going to do our emotional work for us, but they soften the soil for us to process and move the emotions out. And every plant has its own spirit and personality that will work through different pathways on the body in a really cool way. And finally, the oils are actually affordable. It takes a paradigm shift on how to think, because we're using them differently. We're working differently than we've ever worked before in our homes. You know, the versatility of like 1 bottle of oil, you can do maybe 10 different things with that bottle of oil, including clean your surfaces and cure a stomach ache with the same thing. So we're not used to that. We're used to having a chemical cleaner and then some pink like Pepto-Bismol or something like that for our stomachs. We can start to use an all-in-one approach, which comes down to, you have a headache and you put some peppermint on your temples, 2 drops of peppermint, it's like 16 cents out of a $20 bottle. It's pennies per dose. So over time, when you make that shift towards using them proactively for supporting healthy structure and function of the body, balanced immunity, instead of a more reactive approach to waiting till something's wrong, like that's what I used to do before I was tapped into how I was feeling, then you are, I lost my train of thought there. You can go on. My point is, they're pennies per dose. Yeah,
you can end up saving money. That's been true for me.
Over time. Yes. What was the last one?
I think it's everything you said.
We talked about healthy cell function, healthy biochemistry, physical and emotional detox, talked about all that. The 3 ways we use the oils for this support: aromatically, breathing the aroma in. So if you have an oil around, it's just as simple as taking the cap off the bottle and breathing it in. They're volatile substances, so those molecules are traveling through the air will immediately go to the olfactory system. The quickest way I've found to shift mood, emotion, you can regulate the nervous system in like 2 minutes by just sitting with.
The most effective way, like studies show that this is the most effective way to regulate the nervous system, sometimes quicker than breath or movement work.
The breath is amazing. Like if you are not one that wants to work with the plants, just connecting to your breath is beautiful. You bring a plant into the mix, a plant essence into the mix, you are bringing parts of your brain and energies online that you wouldn't otherwise activate without the essence of the plant. Think of them like they're like portals to that vibrational like dormancy inside of you. So really powerful. Topical, you can use them for physical support, aches, pains. Sleep support is really big, and we talked about that for regulating our nervous system. At night, taking a calming oil like a lavender and a frankincense, applying it to the bottom of the feet, over the heart, breathing it in, or putting a diffuser next to your bed. If I wake up in the middle of the night and can't sleep, I'll find an oil like a vetiver or lavender, apply it to the bottom of the feet, rub my palms together, put it on my wrist, and just kind of curl up with my hands by my nose, and it helps just downshift the nervous system and calm the mind down. And then finally, internal use. I only speak about internal use for doTERRA, and that's the company that I work with and I partner with, and have been using for 8 years because of their commitment to safety, purity, and making sure the chemistry is intact of the oils. They're really a science company that has built themselves upon 4 pillars of chemistry and healthy outcomes, really. So you have purity and consistency, and then you have potency and efficacy with the oils. So internally, like I'll take a drop of lemon oil in my water in the morning, and that's just a nice way to get the liver activated, get the toxins, detoxifying out of the body. And you get a stomach ache and put some peppermint under the tongue or rub some peppermint on your belly. But the oils that are safe for internal use will say essential oil supplement right on the side of the bottle. And I don't speak for any other brands because I don't know about their testing protocols. So just take that, if you're using this brand, then I can speak to that and give you guidance with that. Otherwise, I wouldn't take oils internally.
Yeah.
And here's a little bit about what sets doTERRA apart. They source, and this drew me in as a geographer. Thanks, Jerry Lee. doTERRA sources from all over the globe, from around the world, from locations that provide optimal conditions for potency and purity. The growers are organized into co-ops, create jobs, providing education, improving income, and just working with those small-scale artisan growers. Their improved growing and harvesting practices achieve this optimal oil yield that ensures sustainability, and the growers are receiving stable pricing from trustworthy long-term buyer. doTERRA is really using their entire supply chain to elevate entire communities and eradicate poverty, and it's really a beautiful, mutually beneficial relationship that I've seen across the globe. And they source the plants from native habitat too, which is really important because that means the chemistry will be intact. And they test all of their oils to make sure that there's no pesticides or fillers or heavy metals and that sort of thing. So verified free of those contaminants.
Yeah, so now you can kind of start thinking about what's going to happen when you start applying all of these things, whether you choose to work with oils or these oils or another, but just start thinking like what's going to happen if you could take all of those numbers that you wrote down into like a really easy 0. I think emotions was the biggest one that came up for us all. If you could use the tools that you've been presented with today to apply that and take that down to a 0. Start thinking about that. We have a lot of information here, and we're going to quickly, I think, go over some of the most popular ones. I know that some of you are already working with lavender, and I think Emily's doing a really good job of just giving us even more ways to use it. So I think probably really quickly we'll go over these, and then we'll do maybe like 3 minutes going through these. Emily, maybe you can pick some and share what you want most about, and then we can do Q&A.
Yeah, I can just breeze through like a couple that I chose these ones because I would call them the top 10 oils. I won't go through all 10 of them, but you can take a screenshot if you like. But I put these two on the same slide together because I feel like they're like Swiss Army knives of oils that I've just never without, because you can do so much with them. You have peppermint, which is going to be energizing and uplifting. You can take care of digestive support. You can take care of respiratory support, headaches, muscle tension. If you have some ants or insects, like you can put a spray bottle with water, help get rid of pesky insects like that. So
peppermint is also the one that you'll use if you're in the free zone of the nervous system because it's energizing.
Yeah, and then we have, so you could separate 2 categories if you want to get really general with the energetics and emotional qualities that the oils will imbue, and it's uplifting and calming. And then we can get really granular from there, but really peppermint's going to be energizing, uplifting. Lavender is going to be calming. So say it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock and you're having a slump, you're feeling like you need a little pick me up, but you don't want to have a cup of coffee because you don't want to stay awake or be overstimulated, a drop of peppermint in your palms, breathe in, and that will immediately energize the brain. I love that on road trips when I'm driving. And then lavender, of course, at bedtime is a lovely, I think of it as the duvet of the aromatherapy kingdom. It just kind of blankets you in calm. Also great if you need to have a conversation, a crucial conversation, or something you need to get off of your heart through your mouth. Putting some lavender on your chest will help ease tension. When you're more relaxed, you're going to be able to speak from your heart with more ease. So I call lavender the oil of calm communication. Tea tree is a really versatile one you always want to have on hand for energetic boundaries and also for purifying qualities. If you have like a cold sore or any kind of skin, it's a skin regenerative, so it's good for gum health. I've been oil pulling with coconut oil, and we have a On Guard protective blend and tea tree. In the morning, I just swish that around in my gums. Very medicinal and also very cleansing. Tea tree is, and then lemon, I just love it for focus. Again, take screenshots of these if you like. You can kind of go through quicker. Frankincense, the king of the oils, that's going to be like cellular support. Scars, if you have a scar on your skin, some frankincense over it, it's going. I sliced my hand really bad in Hawaii a couple months ago, and you can't even see the scars anymore. I was putting frankincense, helichrysum, and lavender. So here's a couple more for pain, immune support during the COVID times. Like On Guard was something I was just taking all the time. I use this if I'm traveling, if I'm going to be around a lot of people. Rub it on the bottom of the feet, the spine, diffuse it. You can take it internally. Physical protection against like viruses and bacteria, and also energetic protection. And then you start to see how those two go hand in hand. If you are having weak emotional boundaries, energetic boundaries, that's going to be detrimental to your immune system. If you're bombarded with stress and not managing your stress, you're going to have a depleted immune system. So you can start to see how the physical and emotional are intertwined. Alyssa uses clary sage religiously for menstrual bloating. Yes, clary sage is a great one for females for menstrual time, for sure.
Yeah, I think we can probably kind of put these through.
The main point is you can have an arsenal that's like a medicine cabinet if you have those top 10 oils. Yeah. And yeah, we can finish up and do some Q&A. If you're interested in purchasing a starter kit of essential oils, we have a link for Sheridan, and you can message Sheridan. It's bit.ly/Sheridan. Here, I'll type it in here.
So if you guys are curious about it and you want to apply it, or you want to just ask questions, you can go to that link, or you can just message me and we can kind of guide you through it. What I've been doing with people who have been kind of going on this journey of essential oils and not just using them kind of every now and again, but really immersing the essences in their life, is that we do a little bit of a consultation. We give you all of this information that Emily has given me from my own research, so that you're making sure that you're actually using them to their biggest potential, because like there are so many uses that we don't know about. And you get this companionship through the experience. So if you are thinking about it, connect with me so that I can actually accompany you through the experience. Make sure that you're getting the best ones for your lifestyle. Make sure that you're spending not too much money on them. And yeah, I'm here to help you through it all.
I think of them as like vehicles for connection. They help you connect to nature, they help you connect to yourself, and then they connect you to other like-minded humans on the same kind of healing journey as well.
Yeah, beautiful. So I know that we've gone over. Thank you so much, guys, for being patient. I know that some people have popped up as well, which is beautiful. Do you guys, anyone here have any questions just to follow up around anything? It's also okay if you don't.
Well, thank you all for being here and
Yeah.
sharing your afternoon or wherever, whatever time it is, wherever you are. I'm not sure. I didn't ask where
So
everybody
we have,
is.
yeah, Europe, the US, and Australia, all over the world.
Okay, cool. No specific
Yeah.
questions. There's 1,000 things we can talk about. Arkansas. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you're so welcome. I will see you all really, really soon. Thank you for joining us. I'm looking forward to chatting with each of you.
Oh,
Thanks.
thanks for being here. And it was nice to see everybody and meet everybody. Take care.
Bye.